Does have 4 negates in his sideboard when we get to
those
that.
will come in.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll find something better than these essence scatters.
Yeah, I think we might have some upgrades.
So how many we have fatal pushes too?
We definitely have harness lightnings, abrades,
Magma sprays.
Vraska's contempts.
There's a lot of things that don't do anything.
A lot of stinkers.
But what Andrew can count on is you can always just cast Scarab God. That always works.
That is a strong plan.
Turn 1 Renegade Map from Jack Komer. Passes.
Komer should be pretty flush with chump blockers, though.
Tenjum will pass back, developing mana. What he'll have to do is do his best impression, I would think, of mid-range. So we're looking at Champion of Wits, Glint Sleeve Siphoner, Scarab God, Torrential Gearhulk, Liliana Death's Majesty.
In fact, missing on Siphoner on turn 2 is pretty significant for Tenjum. He needs to get on the battlefield much sooner than later. And actually just going for Champion of Wits over Whirler Virtuoso, so he won't even be able to punch through with some Flying Thopter tokens.
Yeah. Got a chance to watch Jack Komer play yesterday. He was playing against Zan Sayed.
Okay.
This deck has a lot of staying power in the late game, and I was able to see Jack really use that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just Hidden Stockpile on its own is quite good in this matchup. You see there's 2 Renegade maps online already, and then once you have 1 servo, you can just keep sacking that servo, make sure you get to keep scrying. Inevitably, you get a second stockpile and/or Anointed Procession going, and you just start to pull really far ahead, all while filtering your draws.
The usage of cards like they have this PS1 Profane Procession main to be able to transform into a land just gives there's so much mana usage on the later turns.
Right, and that is a pretty dang good answer to the Scarab God.
Yeah. You don't always bring it back out of exile.
Yeah,
you just leave it there.
Probably wouldn't bring it back, and it's not even an essential part of his game plan, so it's fine to just get that exiled.
Yeah, he can't activate it. It goes away. Renegade Map is cracked. No one's played really a threat yet. We'll see how they want to lead out. There is a lot of actual dead cards in Jack's deck too. He'll go for Anointer Priest. Something that Jack's has, he has 4 Fatal Push, 3 Cast Out, 3 Fumigate. And Tenjum, happy he converts an Essence Scatter. There you go, Ryan. That's
hooray.
We did it. It did something.
Yeah.
It put Anointer that's the only thing it does.
Go Grixis. Making plays, committing game actions.
Legion's Landing. Hey, it's another creature. You can't Essence Scatter that one.
No. And currently, Jack just getting the 1 vampire token, but if Legion's Landing transforms into Aldanto the first for it, that is unreal good against Tenjum's deck.
You don't like lands that just make threats?
Not so much. Not into that.
How are we doing on Field of Ruin on Andrew's side?
It appears that we are not at all interested in Field of Ruin.
Well, all right. So 3 or more creatures attacking will be what takes care of, transforms Legion's Landing here. Andrew will cast Supreme Will. He looks at not the counterspell mode. That's not going to do anything. He'll look at the top cards and select one of them.
Given that the main deck is so weak to Anointed Procession, you almost want to hold on to the Will so that you could potentially counter a Procession.
Yeah, I mean, can he not also just go the plan of, I mentioned mid-ranging here, as opposed to trying to play a control game, just start jamming Scarab Gods and hoping for the best?
If he's like missing his 5th land for the Scarab God and has the Scarab God, then the Supreme Will makes a lot of sense.
All right, Liliana Death's Majesty was his 5, and that's actually great on this board.
Yeah, you get to start pull ahead, making your own tokens, potentially mill into a Scarab God that you can reanimate.
Yeah, he reaches for the tokens pile.
We'll see if Jack has something like an end-step start to finish.
Oh, God.
That would be pretty significant.
There are so many ways where this deck is hard for Tenjum to deal with. And you're right. Start to finish makes 2 creatures.
Which means, if he's so inclined, and I assume that he is, he can transform into Legion's Landing on the following turn.
Pretty much into that. You could transform it into a land. He could have a Vraska's Contempt for the Liliana. Jack's deck is... Well, I'm sorry. Not Vraska's Contempt. He plays Cast Out instead, but same idea.
Yeah.
So that first half makes 2 1/1s with Vigilance. Second half is the card Bone Splinters.
A little more mana, but yeah. Sacrifice a creature, destroy a creature. 4 black and 2.
So here's a swing. All 3 creatures, and Legion's Landing will transform.
Currently, Jack still missing on his big enablers. The hidden stockpile, the anointed procession.
Yeah, he needs a removal spell, though, for this Liliana. She goes down to 4 loyalty. Without it, I don't know that he will overpower the Planeswalker.
Yeah, with what he has going right now, he's certainly not getting in front of it.
Looks like he does have a cast out in hand.
With the ability to generate tokens over time and maybe overpower Liliana, it makes some sense to try to save the cast out for a Scarab God.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, why aren't we cast outing the Liliana?
Yeah, the Liliana is actually more manageable than Scarab God.
Okay.
You can get more tokens. You can do a good job at dealing with this with most of the cards in Jack's deck. But if the Scarab God starts draining life, filtering Tenjum's draws, that's a way that Jack can definitely lose. You can't chump block your way out of life loss triggers.
Welcome to round 2. You have 50 minutes and you may begin.
So, Andrew will untap his Planeswalker again. Let's start off with a 3-mana card. It's going to be Everything Champion. He's doing this before using Liliana in case there's something he really wants to reanimate.
Yeah, if he draws a Scarab God here, reanimating that would be pretty significant.
Agreed.
You want to get online with that sooner than later.
Like I said, Andrew's best out to these eventualities that Jack has is to just play mid-range.
Yes.
He'll discard not 1 but 2 Scarab Gods. And Liliana might bring one of them back. We'll see. Andrew's checking his options too. Yeah, I'm just going to mill one and make a zombie hard to pass up on.
Yeah, getting the Liliana attacked down when you don't need to lose the Liliana is giving up a good amount of value.
A pair of Abrades put into the yard.
On the battlefield currently, the zombies also just square off really well against the tokens that Jack has assembled so far.
And Jack will use Adanto to make another 1/1. Still hang on to that cast out. And he actually, despite having, I think, the eventual late game Ryan, really has fallen behind on the board.
Yeah, this Liliana's generating some pretty significant advantage here.
Yeah.
And as far as executing an A plan, Jack's draw is looking well below average.
Yeah, and you know, I want to just look at the match in a whole of this round. I think there's some pressure on Jack to perform in this matchup. I like playing Scape Shift. I don't want to play that into Storm.
Yes.
That's a pretty negative matchup, and I don't particularly. Speaking as a combo player, I also don't like playing Sneak and Show into a Delver deck.
Yeah.
Jack's team could really use a win in this match.
Mm-hmm. When he gets going with stockpiles and processions, the matchup's very good, but he has a Fumigate in hand.
What I like is that when Jack's deck gets going, as you mentioned, Andrew really doesn't have the right answers to stop it.
Right. When we get into sideboard, though, it becomes easier for Tenjum to stop Komer from getting going. He gets those negates, loses these Essence Scatters.
And I think it all goes back to Essence Scattering that Anointer Priest.
Yeah, what a turn. What a turn.
That key moments of the matchup. Essence Scatter and Anointer Priest. Not a dead card. And now Liliana will -3 to bring back the Scarab God.
Now things are scary.
Yeah, I like how Andrew did this with mana. Wait until he had mana up, so even if Jack makes cast out, Andrew can just Scarab God the other Scarab God.
Sure can.
Yeah.
It forces 2 cast outs.
Another 1/1 from Jack on end step. So we're going to get into this late game slog between the two players, but, you know, I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen resolved, like, Scarab God plus untapping all your lands. How many times does that lose?
Not often.
Just never.
Yeah.
This card's crazy good.
When the battlefield's already going your way, and then you add the Scarab God.
Yeah, you win those ones.
It's not like it was a squeaker, and the Scarab God showed up, and there's still some sweat. It's like the Scarab God's just kind of cleaning up. Tenjum can even steal that Anointer Priest. Then things will really be going his way. Looks like we're seeing an end-step Scarab God activation. Probably wants that Glint Sleeve Siphoner, though. So he gets that one. That's a 4/4 now. He has an energy already because of the Ether Hub, so he'll be able to draw a card right away with that.
Yeah, the extra energy will be an extra card. You know, I don't know if an extra card is, I mean, it's nice. I'll take one. The board's pretty great.
Yeah.
like I don't know if the board's getting answered as it is. Jack does have a Fumigate in his hand, and we want to pay her some respect to that.
Yeah, and that's where you see things like the extra card actually coming up. Though currently, the Fumigate's lining up against a lot of stuff that Tenjum made for free.
Right, it's not really a 4-for-1. We'll see Cast Out by Jack.
Does that resolve? Of course it resolves, because the counter spells in Tenjum's main deck are Essence Scatter.
So this is on Jack's end step. Andrew makes the Scarab God Eternalize on end step. Jack doesn't really want to see Andrew untap again with Scarab God mana, so he's going to, on his own end step, to attempt to cast out.
That timing just makes sense.
Yeah, and that makes sense. We mentioned before how Scarab God had the mana to bring back another copy of itself, legend rule itself away, just be awesome. Jack's timed this at a very smart place.
Yep. Yeah. Tenjum got a little aggressive with that activation. You're not doing anything. You leave that on the table, though.
Ooh, Tenjum's going to harness lightning his own Scarab God. I like plays like this.
Yeah. Exiling it means it doesn't come back. This puts it in the graveyard. Means they'll get it back and just cast it next turn.
Untaps. Yeah, let's bring back the...
Yeah, so triggers at the beginning of the end step. We were already in that end step. So Tenjum's getting it back on this turn.
And he didn't actually draw the extra card off Siphoner.
We'll use all the energy for the Harness Lightning.
Oh, yeah. Right, it's not just a red Doomblade.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty close, but not exactly.
All right, well, let's try to rebuild some energy. Here comes a Glint Sleeve Siphoner. Makes an energy, swings over for 4, +1 and a mill by Liliana, Death's Majesty. Puts the last copy of Scarab God into the graveyard. I mentioned there was pressure on Jack in this matchup, and Ryan, we're not kidding. We got some results. Both of them, Joe Bernal and Matt Hoey, taking game ones. It's what you'd expect here.
Yep. Yeah, I think Storm versus Scapeship is a runaway for Storm.
I mean, whew.
Sneak and Show Delver is a much closer matchup, but you do like the Delver side.
Yeah, so the issue here is Scapeship plays usually cards that can, up to 4 removal spells in the main, sometimes as many as 0. And your opponent makes a Goblin Electromancer on turn 2, and you look at them and you just say, please don't.
Yeah.
And then you make Sakura Tribuilder, and then you say go.
Your turn.
And then you hope that they don't kill you, and they usually do.
Check my sideboard. Oh, I'm still going to lose.
Yeah, we try then. We'll be like, I'll put this one relic into play. Got you now. And then they win anyway. Like, ooh, that was my best shot.
Yeah. I did everything I could, and then I lost by a lot.
That matchup stinks.
Big plays for Jack Komer.
All right.
The Anointer Priest has been eternalized.
Well, Essence Scatter can't keep it down forever.
Yep.
We see Torrential Gearhulk from Tenjum on the end step, getting back Supreme Will.
Speaking of big plays.
That's like not as big of a Gearhulk, but a 5/6 is pretty big. I'll take that.
Yeah, 5/6 is substantial. We still have not seen that Fumigate.
So, Ryan, is the game, so one thing it seemed like Tenjum was ahead by a bunch 10 minutes ago, and Jack still is 16. A lot of turns have passed. Is Jack stabilizing? What's going on here?
It's kind of the issue is that despite having good battlefield presence, Tenjum hasn't really had good attacks.
Yeah, it feels like Tenjum's snowballing, but when's the damage going to start? When's this going to matter?
Yeah, the big thing he has going for him is still access to that Scarab God, getting that back online. The combat with this stuff, Jack has this pretty well covered, gets to make lifelink tokens every turn with the Adanto. And then inevitably just gets to fumigate this if he really cares. Tenjum's going to start shoving, but we're going to see a lot of blocks here.
Adano tokens have lifelink?
Oh, yeah.
That's so rude.
This is actually my pick, Legion's Landing, for one of the best cards in Standard.
Yeah.
And that's a strong endorsement because
I
hate white cards.
Yeah, stuff that's like only white mana and the mana cost.
That card's very powerful.
Yeah. A bunch of blocks here. Jack can try to keep his... This feels, with the way he's blocking, where he's chumping most of the board, like we're setting up for a Fumigate.
Yes, yeah. He wants to keep enough creatures on the battlefield as possible, so gain more life off the Fumigate.
Yeah, he's trying to get Andrew to commit as hard as he can before the Fumigate, but eventually, you know, Jack has to chump the board.
There's no difference in blocking with the lifelink vampires as far as life gain versus fumigating them away, so I kind of like seeing chump blocks there. With these blocks the way they are, you're more likely to cause Tenjum to commit more to the battlefield, which is something. But the deck's not very heavy on creatures to begin with.
1/3 Anointer Priest token's going to take care of Champion of Wits and live to tell about it.
Ooh. Powerful exchange.
Yeah. How do you beat a 1/3?
The priest is also going to gain another life with the Adanto. That's a combination.
Liliana sacrificed for Scarab God. And you see why Andrew wants to do that. You look at how he split up his mana, just declaring, hey, look, this is 8.
I'm doing this twice.
Yeah.
Attention Magic players. Tyler Smith, your commander pod number.
Another lifelink creature from Jack. That Adanto is not messing around. You were right.
Tyler Smith, your commander pod number 3 is ready.
Jack at 10 here. I think we're likely to see a Fumigate come down on this turn. And pretty significant pickup for Jack. He found the hidden stockpile.
All right.
So Tenjum's set up with the Scarab God. He can start using the Scarab God to pull ahead, but once Jack gets online with hidden stockpile, he starts to get a lot of chump blockers. This combines with Adanto. You get to keep making tokens, keep getting more servos, scrying. Once he finds Anointed Procession, really starts going off with these cards.
Beginning of your end step, and he'll make sure this happens almost basically every turn. Create if a permanent left the battlefield, will make that happen. Get a servo. He'll gain a life off the servo from Anointer Priest. He'll get to scry one. He gets, so every turn, Ryan, he makes a 1/1 lifelink, gains a life, then sacrifices it, scries one, then gets a servo, gains a life.
And,
that's neat.
And just gets to see more cards to try to find that procession.
And blocks, sacks. Ugh. I like what Jack's doing. I would miss so many triggers playing this deck.
The block sack's a little mopey because you only get the servos on your own turn. But because of Legion's Landing, he's making 2 tokens every turn.
Okay, we're still profiting.
Yeah.
Yeah, once we have an Anointed Procession, then
things get out of control. He is under some pressure of the Scarab God if he only has these 2 token makers going.
Down to 10. So Tenjum's going to try to close. Here's 2 activations of Scarab God. First one's going to be on Champion of Wits. Draws 4 because it's been internalized. We'll discard 2. Can discard another creature and go ahead and eternalize a Scarab God from there.
Could also discard an Essence Scatter.
Yeah, I like that. Glintsleeve, Siphoner, Land are the discards, and now he'll eternalize the Siphoner. Trying to close it out. You see the writing with Hidden Stockpile and Adanto that this is getting unmanageable. Let's end it.
And I want to point something else out. Scarab God just checks zombies, not just eternalized creatures. You're going to see a lot of damage coming on the upkeep
this
here.
This is 6. That's most of Jack's life total.
A little concerned that Jack didn't pull the trigger on that Fumigate, though. If he makes it through this turn, then it's still fine.
If it's a drain of 6, Ryan, all these eternalized creatures have 4 power.
Well, there's lifelink blockers.
Okay, that's going to mess the math up a bit. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
And you see the conversation happening here.
Like,
yeah,
hey,
these are zombies.
Yeah, these are zombies.
Scarab God checks zombies. It's more than you think it is.
These are. In addition to, I don't think we have a -3'd zombified card. Anyway, this is a lot of damage. Jack down to 4. Scry of 6. Yeah, Tenjum could close.
Scry. That is a
Scry
lot of scrying.
6 is nice.
Yeah.
That's like.
I will put these lands on the bottom. I will draw only very good spells.
All right, thought experiment for a second here. At what point, at what number does Scry N become better than draw a card? Like, would you rather Scry 6 or draw a card?
It really depends on the context here.
Yeah, I know. That's the easy
if
answer.
I'm spending a blue mana, draw a card is just always better. And
That's not true. Scry 60 is probably better than draw a card.
Sure.
Not to mention Scry 60 is the worst spell ever to resolve because your opponent will sit there for 20 minutes.
If it's a format with Force of Will, I don't like going down a card for that effect.
Look, I like to play combo, and 1 mana Scry 60.
It's very powerful.
I will
It's very
abuse that card,
powerful.
okay? There are some dumb things. I'm going to cast turn 2 Treasure Hunt and draw 40, okay? It's going to be really dumb.
Sure. There's not a card that they would print that scries for enough to be better than draw a card.
Here's a huge swing. You're not getting. This conversation, we're going back to it.
This ain't
but here's
over.
This isn't over. We're attacking. Big swing here from Tenjum. He's picked up basically the card of his choice. He's going to Vraska's Contempt away that Anointer Priest.
That's in response to the Adanto activation, so that costs 1 life for Jack.
Yeah, and Andrew has at least 1 Harnessed Lightning in hand, which means he might be able to deny enough lifelink to make this swing straight lethal.
Yeah, the Siphoners require 2 blockers. They have Menace.
Yep. Harnessed Lightning on a lifelink blocker.
And Jack should sacrifice the one that's Harnessed Lightning to the hidden stockpile, but that's a pretty minor thing.
And that's going to be lethal damage. He denies enough lifelink the attack comes through. So Andrew Tenjum takes game 1, along with teammates Joe Bernal and Matt Hoey.
The big miss there was Jack not seeing the zombie tokens working with the Scarab God. He had the Fumigate, thought he could get more value, and lost the game on that turn.
So, clean sweep for their side, a long game 1. Now Jack's deck, I know, it gets grindier after sideboard. We'll talk about that when we come back with game number 2. So we move over to the sideboard here. Jack Komer and Andrew Tenjum, some big comebacks need to happen all across the left side. But Jack Komer, we saw some glimpses of where this matchup can work for him. If he can get to the late game, he should be able to overpower everything.
Yes, when he gets Anointed Procession online, it's a very different game. We just didn't see that in game 1.
We have Settle the Wreckage, Vraska Relic Seeker, Ixalan's Binding, that would be a second copy. A second Profane Procession, I actually think I like that in this matchup. A Thopter Rest, the 4th Cast Out, 2 Sunscourge Champion, that's likely for red decks. 2 treasure maps. You can see that here, and 3 duress. And I'm actually somewhat interested in 2 lost legacy here. What do you like?
Yeah, actually, the thing about this sideboard is almost all the cards are very tempting.
Yeah, that was my point.
And so the concern is making sure that our deck is still functional. The duress is pretty good. Blocking for negate is going to be extremely important in the matchup. I like treasure map as you're likely going to have the time to set it up, transform it, draw some extra cards. It's very powerful. You need to deal with the Scarab God. So the question is, are we doing it by loading up on Cast Out, Thopter Rest, Persane Procession, Ixalan's Binding, which generally isn't great against the rest of the deck. It's fine against Glowsleeve Siphoner. Or are we just going to try to Lost Legacy it? When you do both, I think you're doing too much on that front.
Right, you don't want to cast out a Scarab God and then draw Lost Legacy.
Right.
It's like, hey, wait, we already did that. If you just have Lost Legacies, the problem if Tenjum resolves one, you're kind of in trouble because then you're not going to hit it anymore.
Right.
I could see both ways.
I like the exiling effects generally better than the Lost Legacy.
So Ryan, an update on the modern board. There we go. Putting his team on the map. Tyler Maloney takes game 2 with Scape Shift. Primeval Titan's going to go ahead and steal one here. A big ask in game 3. He's on the draw.
Yeah.
See, and this is a real thing. This is going to kind of tell what I think of the matchup. The play is easier because when they make a turn 2 brawl, you can Anger of the Gods it out of the sideboard.
Yep. Great matchup.
You actually board it in hoping that happens.
Yeah, you hope that they just jam it before the combo turn.
Well, you just jam it on 2 because they don't play a rule. But like, I'm going to board in these Angers. Like, their deck has 6 creatures. I'm like, oh, I know. I gotta kill him. And then on the draw, you're like, it's not even gonna be in time. It's too slow.
Yeah, I mean, like, playing the turn 2 Electromancer that dies to Anger is pretty bushly. I expect better from Matt Hoey.
No, not against Scape Shift.
No, Hoey's whatever. He's gonna make that play.
I'm gonna argue that's actually correct because the problem is, like, if we look at his list, I bet there's like most 5 ways to kill it, even in the whole 75. So it's like probably right to jam and be like, did you actually board an Anger and have it? And you have to have double red untapped on turn 3. None of those things are free. Show me that.
Counterpoint, you have a lot of hands that play Electromancer, and if it lives, just still win on turn 3.
I mean, if you have one of those, then you got me, okay?
Yeah.
Like, I have no play.
Anyway, Tenjum's bringing in some negates.
Okay, I like that. I like them better than the Essence Scatters.
Yeah, it's an upgrade.
See, Jack doesn't really play creatures.
Yeah.
So
we did see that Essence Scatter on an Anointer Priest in game 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe then he should keep both in, right?
Four of them. There's 4 of them.
Tenjum's board of Chandra's Defeat, Gonti, Magma Spray, Gifted Aetherborn, these don't do anything.
Correct.
I guess Argwell's Bloodfast. But the problem is, like, if Andrew plays Bloodfast on 2 and spends the first, like, turn 3, turn 4 just drawing extra cards, I think he's going to lose.
Yeah. If you Gonti and steal one of their processions, that's 1 fewer procession in their deck.
Your Liliana Death's Majesty is going to be nice. On 6 cards, Jack starts on turn 1 Renegade map. We are underway for game 2. Dragon Skull Summit for Tenjum. Upkeep Renegade map for Jack. A lot of times you see that. That's that tiny difference of my hand's a little heavy on lands. Let's thin.
Yep. I would much rather draw a spell here than basic swamp.
So while I like that math argument, I also like information where I don't want to make this play because, well, no, it's all a mind game. Right? Your opponent might read you of, oh, you're heavy on land. I don't know. None of this. Sack it whenever you want.
It's not like the deck plays at instant speed. Like, what's that read doing for anybody?
I like really debating plays with marginal, with like marginal effect. Here's Hidden Stockpile. Gets the servo because of that revolt from the map.
Yep. The stockpile does not need to see the revolt happening. It just has to have happened.
Glintstleeve Siphoner from Tenjum. Just 1 energy. He'll pass. Fumigate in hand for the record for Jack Komer.
Don't love that post sideboard.
You know, yeah, you look at how game 1 played out, and the Fumigate was good. Not great.
Well, would have been good if it was cast.
Another map for Jack. Evolving Wilds. That's going to trigger Revolt.
And we get to get aggressive with our servo.
Yeah.
Things are already shaking up better, despite the mulligan here.
Hidden Stockpile is really good against Grixis, isn't it?
Turn 2 stockpile is really important. not only are you starting to generate the servos, but he'll start to be able to scry some.
Yeah.
Currently, he's just enabling revolt otherwise, so he gets to snowball a little bit and make more tokens. But down to 3 cards. I think a couple of them are still lands for Jack.
All right, so Jack, we're going to go in here. Tyler Maloney, pressure's on him. Joe Bernal has won the Legacy match. Grixis Delver 2-0 over Sneak and Show. Scapeshift's got to win one on the draw.
Yep.
No more room to give, really. Tyler needs game 3, and Jack needs this game and the next.
This game is looking fine so far for Jack. I'd be really worried about the modern seat, though.
Yep. Renegade map upkeep for Jack again. No attacks from Tenjum, as enough servos are left back to take care of the Siphoner. And a forest here for Komer. What are we looking at as far as green cards go?
Vraska, Relic Seeker.
That's it.
End of list.
All right, 2 copies were in the main.
Third in the sideboard as well.
Yeah.
We did see as he picked up his deck, there's at least 1 hanging out.
That makes sense. This is a mid-range enough spot where I'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
Ixalan's Binding drawn is for the turn for Jack Komer.
Binding, an important card to have in the Scarab God matchups. If you can get 1 under that, that means that Tenjum's just off-casting him for the rest of the game. Has to set up some weird backdoor thing with Champion plus Liliana. Which is, you know, what happened in game 1.
Swing of a servo here from Komer. Gets Tenjum to 19. Pass, and he'll keep going for more servos. That hidden stockpile continues to produce. Well, Ryan, we got an interesting spot here. Modern match is finished, and these guys are still playing. Green-red Scapeshift winning over a Storm. Quite the upset.
Yeah.
Now, I want to keep an eye here on the clock. I think this matters a lot now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Obs on tokens does not win quickly.
No, and honestly, the dexterity of the mechanics, when the deck's really going, you have to move a lot of tokens around.
I would be worried about personally playing it. There's so many triggers, so many tokens.
Yeah.
Swing of Glint Sleeve Siphon from Tenjum brings him up to 2 energy.
I played a version of this deck at a tournament like an FNM. It was like a Monday night standard tournament. And my rounds were taking 40+ minutes.
Yeah.
I don't play slow. But you have
Jack's not playing slow.
Right. You
There's a lot of
have
things
to
happening.
move a lot of things around. And we haven't even watched games where much is happening.
Yeah, we see the Argwell's Bloodfast is cast by Tenjum, leaving up 2 for an activation. We go back over to Komer.
Yeah, Bloodfast in for Tenjum here. That one makes a good amount of sense in the matchup. Got to keep up on card advantage. You want to make sure you have access to negates on the key cards.
Fatal Push drawn by Jack. And I'm going to say I wasn't sure about in the matchup. I do like it here, though. It'll take care of Siphoner before Andrew can draw a card. He might be a little surprised to see it, but it is going to be good right now.
Yeah. Though with the Bloodfast online,
Yeah.
Tenjum can still produce extra cards.
Yeah, and Jack doesn't really have enough pressure at the moment, so he hits Andrew down to 17. Andrew will actually have time to just draw those extra cards.
Mm-hmm.
Comer's going to go ahead and sacrifice a servo. You see top card, Sheffet Dunes.
That's a fine card, though he really wants to find more stockpiles, the first
Yeah.
anointed procession.
Yeah. Gets the servo back. Andrew will draw a card with Bloodfast, go to 15.
So Tenjum is looking for a combination of both negates to make sure he doesn't fall behind and Scarab God so he can actually get on the battlefield. It's a little bit awkward because the Bloodfast is costing him some life, the servos are applying pressure, Tenjum's losing a healthy amount of life each turn, and his threats are so expensive that it's tough to get a threat and leave up negate. So even if he finds the threat that he's looking for, he can still be in a position where Jack says, okay, my turn, procession, stockpile, let's go to game 3. The servos keep coming.
Servos keep coming. Tenjum's going to keep drawing these extra cards.
And this is not a bad addition either. One of Jack's lands there, Scavenger Grounds. That can do a good job checking the Scarab God.
And Harness Lightning on a servo from Tenjum, showing that his hand's not exactly what he wants here.
Jack wisely sacrifices the servo to the stockpile. No energy gain for Tenjum. And Jack scries to the top. That is scary.
So Anointed Procession, Hidden Stockpile, you're thinking something like that?
Yes. Almost every other card goes to the bottom right now. Or if he already has those, it could be a duress to set up for it.
Sure here, well, what is the win?
Looks like it was duress.
It was duress. Let's take a look. Tenjum currently at 11.
If you have a negate, you just fire it off because you're losing it if you don't cast it.
No reason to give your opponent the option. And that is the play. Andrew will negate the duress. He does have some advantage here with that Bloodfast. Has netted him so many extra cards. It's going to get hit down to 10.
Jack's going to want to revolt something here. The servo is easy enough.
Yeah. Running out of servos. Keeps the card on top again. And servo comes back.
And once Jack spends the turn sacrificing the servo, it makes sense for Tenjum on his turn to just remove the servo so that there won't be a revolt on the following turn.
Tenjum down to 8. Is he going to go down to 6? Looks like he will. Remember that once he goes down below 5, the Bloodfast will transform, allowing him to gain life.
If he gets a creature.
Yeah, if he gets a creature.
And you see how easily Jack is pulling ahead just with one stockpile. And this, I feel, is way more indicative of the matchup than Game 1 was.
Yeah, and even that, it hasn't really come together for him. Here's the Scarab God from Tenjum. Was interested to see whether he was going to play this outright or wait until he had the transformed land. He'll pass. Jack's just going to untap.
Yeah, having the sacrifice online would allow him to respond to any kind of exile effect. Very likely that he's just hanging out with another negate, though. He does play 4.
Yeah, swing the servo. And remember, this card was scried to the top, Jack's current draw. So whatever it is, it's pretty strong. Servo's going to be blocked by Scarab God. It will go away. I wonder if we see a negate, whatever Jack drew. It looks like it's going to be another Hidden Stockpile was the card scried to the top.
There's still Procession mana, so negating this is dicey, because Procession's a lot better.
Yeah, and you see Andrew's thinking that now, too. He has the negate, but decides he'll go for it.
And we have a follow-up that either exiles the Scarab God or is Procession.
We do. Ixalan's Binding.
And that is really bad news for Tenjum.
Ooh, yeah, so Ixalan's Binding has some secondary text that's pretty good here. Your opponents can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card. Andrew will have to work mighty hard to get another Scarab God into play.
Grixis not known for having answers to enchantments.
No, we'll see Champion of Wits here from Andrew. Draw 2, discard 2.
Yeah, theoretical answer is Consigned to Oblivion. Tenjum did not register that card.
Okay, so he actually cannot remove it.
Right.
All right. He can get Scarab God into play using Liliana Death's Majesty still.
Yes.
That is the only way for that to work.
I'm not sure how serious he was, but Brad Nelson was talking about having a Forsake the Worldly in the sideboard of his Grixis deck.
Sure. Harness Lightning takes care of a servo. Jack now out of creatures, so the Hidden Stockpile is empty. And remember, Jack's at 18, so we have some time. Start to finish was the draw. Does not take long for Hidden Stockpile to reload, but he's got to be quick. Remember, there's 11:25 in the round, and this is game 2.
If Jack really wants it, he can use the Scavenger Grounds just to activate the stockpile, but he's got something way better than that.
Vraska, no. Andrew will cast Supreme Will.
That's easy.
Absolutely not.
Hard pass. Next question.
Remember how I drew all those extra cards? I'm going to cast them now. One of them is a counter spell. Here to land, Champion swings in, hits Jack down to 16. Andrew's actually down to 1 card in hand. He has 1 more Bloodfast activation if he would like it. His other source of card advantage is going to be this Champion being eternalized at some point.
You can set up, transform the Bloodghast, sacrifice the Champion.
That's going to happen. Okay.
This is a nice turn.
So down to 4. Argwell's Bloodfast and transform version perhaps. So that's Temple of Alcazatz will be the transformation.
Aclazatz.
Aclazatz. Dang it. Damn.
Hello.
Aclazatz.
It's on the screen, Matthias.
Yeah. It's like, it's the Central American flavor. See, I read it as do the LC thing, and then no, but it's CL because it's like, you know, things like coatls and
I have a strategy.
Aclazatz.
I have a strategy for reading words. I look at the letters.
Chupacabras.
Standard classic players. Your pairings for round 3 are up online and on the way to players. Once again, standard.
So here's the other side, Arguel. At the beginning of Andrew's upkeep, it is set to transform into Aclazatz.
It is a May. I think
I think he wants to.
We're going to see.
I don't really want to draw too many more cards off this.
We're not going to activate it twice.
Here's Torrential Gearhulk. That's step from Andrew. Supreme Will looks like this. You know, one of the sad things I see when I watch this deck is there's so much Torrential Gearhulk and so little Glimmer of Genius.
Yeah, we've seen some pretty mopey flashbacks. Supreme Will is just so much worse than Glimmer when it comes to gear hulking.
And Scavenger Grounds was cracked by Jack. Says, no, your gear hulk's just a 5/6. And he says, okay, it's fine. 5/6s are pretty good.
Yeah.
And what I like from this on Andrew's side is it burned the Scavenger Ground, which now means he can transform Arguel's Bloodfast into Aclazatz. Then he can sacrifice the champion and eternalize it and draw 4.
Yes. That is a lot of value.
Upkeep going to go down to 2 life. Now transforms it. And draw for turn.
He's drawing so many cards. I'm very envious that
Swing, yeah.
he gets to play this game.
Swing for 7, Jack down to 9. If you want to see, if you like drawing cards, Ryan, I got another one coming for you.
I am
He's going
excited
to
for
draw
this.
more
Let's
cards.
see some fireworks here.
You know.
Gain a life.
Would he rather be drawing 4 or scrying 24? What an interesting question.
I would rather draw 4.
Yeah, I think so. But I might rather scry 12, draw 2.
Yeah, Scry 12 draw 2 is out of control.
That's better than draw 4?
That card is nonsense. Like,
So-
4C is already just like a very good card. And it's a sorcery.
What about scry 6, draw card, scry 6, draw card? Is that even better?
Yeah, that card's nuts.
And we're replacing, you see what I'm doing? What about draw 2, scry 12? In that order. Now it's worse. I just Serum Vision. I just changed your period into a Serum Vision.
How much mana am I spending on this?
Whatever you're spending for this draw 4. It's the same thing. But just instead of drawing 4, you're getting like some combination of draws and scry 6s. There are 6 different orderings that you could have to this.
Okay.
I think are all 6 better than the draw 4?
I draw 4 over draw 2, scry 12.
What about scry 6, draw 2, scry 6?
That card's great. I do
Yeah,
that. I do
okay.
that one.
That's one of the better ones. Okay, he drew 4, discarded 2 because that's actually how the card reads.
Yeah.
He has Jack down to 9. Jack's going
And-
to cast start to finish. Well, start on the end step gets 2 1/1s on taps.
Gotta get some of this off the battlefield because 5 plus 4 is Jack's current life total. You have your tokens to chump block, but you gotta do more than that.
I think my favorite one, Ryan, is draw 1, scry 12, draw 1.
Yeah, that card's very good.
The first draw, you're like, eh, and the second draw, like, well, the second one's going to be real nice.
I'm gonna like the second card. And I'm probably gonna like the card I draw next turn too.
And the game's probably not lasting more turns than that because I scried so much.
Yeah.
Treasure Map from Jack Komer. And once again, we see these cards that give him incremental advantage in the matchup. But the problem that will happen is that his life total just gets low. Andrew eventually starts mid-ranging him.
Yeah, and Tenjum's life total is low this turn, but when he untaps that temple, he's representing a lot of theoretical life. He has a 6 toughness creature and a 4 toughness creature.
Yeah, now start to finish was cast, so if he has the land, finish can be used to take care of one of these creatures from Tenjum. Looks like, yeah.
Finishing the
Finishing
Gearhulk.
finishes off the Gearhulk.
And he has revolted, so we'll see a servo coming.
Yeah, it gets a servo back. There's the second half. Yeah, that Bone Splinters one. Sacrifice a creature to destroy a creature. These Aftermath cards combo with themselves. That is the point.
Some of them better than others.
Yeah, so go back over to Tenjum. He untaps with a lot of mana. Remember, he drew many cards off that Eternalized Champion. He'll swing in for 4, Komer down to 5. And now, what is Andrew going to do with all this mana? We will see.
Well, I can tell you one thing. He will not cast a Scarab God.
He's not allowed to.
That one has been bound by Ixalan. It's a lot of mana.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, we'll just Eternalize another champion.
That's good.
Even more cards. 5 minutes remaining in the round. So remember, a win is probably off the table for Jack Komer. If this game doesn't finish, that's a win for the team of Bernal, Hoey, and Tenjum.
Yep, Tenjum would win this match 101.
Yeah.
That'd be the second requisite match win for the round.
So the pressure is on Jack needs to win.
Yes. And with 2 4/4s on the battlefield, untapped Temple at the ready, Tenjum's life total is a lot higher than 3. And here's Gonti, the Lord of Luxury.
Ooh, how luxurious. He'll look at the top 4 and select one of them for later.
So here's a fun interaction.
Yes.
If he got Anointed Procession and cast it, and then eternalized a Champion of Wits,
Oh, wow. Ooh, that's more cards.
he would draw 4, discard 2, draw 4, discard 2, and get 2 4/4s.
So if you compare that to draw 1, scry 6, draw 1, scry 6, discard 2, scry 12, draw 2, discard 2. Better or worse?
I checked out in the middle of that. I'm not sure what card you described.
Well, now there's 36 different configurations that could be possible for this. I think most of them are really good.
I believe you. I am but a human.
Fumigate will be cast by Jack.
Cannot process that information.
Well, most of it's nonsense. So
I
Andrew
know-
goes to 7.
I
You
picked
got
up on that.
All right,
I picked up on that part.
Jack will gain, it looks like, 4.
Tenjum will also gain 4.
Yes, Tenjum will gain 4. Revolt will bring a servo back into play, and we go back to Tenjum. That treasure map is getting ready to transform on Jack's side.
That's more Revolt triggers. That's some extra cards.
Jack has 3 different cards that transform into legendary lands. I like that.
They're all just good, too.
Yeah. 3 minutes, though. Keep an eye on that clock. Jack is... What the Oplan deck does, he stalls really well. As you see, Andrew makes another Gonti. But he doesn't win very well.
No.
You know, Andrew can run out the clock. And not to say, like, he can play slowly. He can just, like, play defensively. And that should work from here.
I want to know what these Gontis are hiding. Just looking at a start to finish on this one. Don't really see the other cards.
The Lord of Luxury does not let you know that, Ryan, until it's too late.
One of the luxuries is privacy.
Yeah, I don't think you want to cast start to finish off of Gonti.
Not so
because
much.
The interaction there is you get the tokens, then your opponent gets the aftermath.
Getting the tokens isn't bad. Giving them the finish is also... That part's not ideal.
Fatal Push. That'll take care of a servo. That was one of the 2 luxuried cards.
Modern challenge players, your round 1 pairings are
More
being
cards from
posted
Tenjum.
on
Here's
Twitter
Glint Save
points
Siphoner.
on
Even more energy, moves up to 7.
Please.
2 minutes remaining.
New modern challenge players, your
Another
round
land
1
and a pass from
pairings are
Tenjum.
being
Back over to
posted
Jack
on
Komer.
Twitter point on yellow paper.
Gonna go ahead and put a 3rd counter on that treasure map. Scry 1.
Upkeep Scry. Good timing there.
Treasure map. Scry 1. Put a landmark counter. Then, if there are 3 or more, which there are, remove the counters. Transform the map and create 3 artifact tokens. You have found the treasure. 3 of them, indeed, because you have found Treasure Cove. Treasure Cove makes colorless mana, but you may sack a treasure to draw a card.
Notably, does not untap when it transforms.
No.
So no extra cards just yet.
You can always just sack a treasure, get a servo.
You sure could.
That is your treasure, is the servo. I like how you go to Treasure Cove and find a hidden stockpile. And this story is writing itself.
Such a flavorful deck. You roll up
A
at the Legion's
stockpile of
Landing
servos. Yes, you roll up the Legion.
with your treasure map.
Another hidden stockpile. This expedition going quite well.
You follow the entire treasure hunt from start to finish.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Well, you have to use the Renegade map as well. Vraska's a relic seeker. She's seeking this treasure.
This is an A+.
Not sure why we're fumigating. That's the one I can't explain that one too.
The treasure was infested with termites.
Okay, here's Profane Procession.
Gremlins, rather.
Yeah, it's with gremlins. Another one of the transform cards I mentioned here. One that figures to be very good in the matchup. Now we are going to hit time. So the issue with Profane Procession
Doesn't win the game.
Yeah, these are all things that, you know, in 10 minutes will win the game for Jack, but turn 0 was Jack's. So Andrew Tenjum will have turns 1, 3, and 5. Jack will have turns 2 and 4.
And there's too much for Tenjum to realistically punch through.
Yeah.
I don't see either player being able to convert a game win.
Right, can Jack punch through? That's the only question that matters here, and it doesn't look like it.
And now when you're in turns looking at this Siphoner, do I want to
Yeah.
pay a life?
Maybe.
Only 3 cards in hand.
I always do. So does Tenjum. He goes to 6. Yeah, point taken, though.
I didn't register Glint Sleeve Siphoner to not draw cards.
That's the attitude. No, draws another Arguel's Bloodfast. I don't know if I want to draw cards that much. We can go down to 2 again. Let's.
Bloodfast, activate.
No, too many. Too many.
That's not gonna play.
That's probably not the line. See that counter on the bottom of your screen there? That shows the current turn. Gifted Aetherborn from Andrew Tenjum out of the sideboard. I really like it on this extra turns board state. Lifelink, sign me up.
It's never gonna gain life because of the stockpiles.
Yeah, there's 2 of them. That doesn't really change that, but yeah. What if there's 2? Will that make him gain life, Ryan?
In fact, it would not.
Okay.
You see, there's also 2 stockpiles.
Okay, that's why. But if he draws the 3rd Gifted Aetherborn, then it'll work.
Then we're cooking.
Harness Lightning on a servo.
Ooh, and Jack was tapped out. I suppose he could use a treasure token if he really wanted to use a stockpile, but those are cards.
Turn 2 is Jack's. No creatures in play. Remember we said Jack needs to win. That's looking difficult. I'm not even sure Jack can survive. I think Andrew might actually just win this.
Yeah, those creatures, that's a significantly more pressure for Tenjum.
Yeah, he uses Treasure Cove to go find a treasure, draw a card. Let me get some stockpiles from Treasure Cove.
I think he picked up Thopter Arrest.
Okay.
There's some pretty embarrassing targets for that. Trading down on mana with most of them.
Yeah, well, he also has this Profane Procession mana available. It's not even clear that he wants to cast Thopter Arrest.
Yeah.
Like I said, he has good plays. If we weren't in extra turns, I think Jack still has some game here. But Andrew now starts turn 3. This means Jack has 1 more turn worth of attacks, and the only creatures that will enter that turn are these 2 servos. I don't see how you deal 6 with that.
And you see Tenjum proactively using his temple. He's just going to gain life.
Yeah, he's just dumping creatures to gain life.
You're not beating me in turns.
Yeah, turn 3 is Anders. He's going to swing with his lifelink creatures. Cool. Didn't draw a card off Glint Sleeve Siphoner. Really like what Tenjum's doing here, just recognizing that there's 1 turn left that matters.
Yep.
A Scry from Jack Komer. There's no Exsanguinate or anything like that.
There's some similar wonky decks in Standard that play things like Cut to Ribbons. That's just not what this deck is up to.
Profane Procession will shoot away and Gifted Aetherborn. Andrew will sacrifice it so it doesn't happen. Gains even more life. And this is looking good, Ryan. We'll see. Jack has about 1 draw left. And I don't think the card exists.
No, this deck is an engine deck. It's all about getting a high volume of things that matter.
And he fumigates post-combat. That was the other card off Gonti.
That's quite the luxury.
And Glint Sleeve Siphoner from Andrew Tenjum. So passes. Jack gets a draw. And he doesn't even need to look at it. Extends the hand, and Bernal, Hoey, and Tenjum pick up the win. A 1-0 over there in standard. Now, Ryan, do you think if we play that, let's say we play that in elimination and untimed rounds, and we all hope that that never comes to this, because who gets that game?
So there were some deviations in the last couple turns. You would not see Tenjum as proactively using his temple.
He would have kept drawing cards with Siphoner.